This is Teresa. Now, she's really struggling with thin, fine hair, but I'm about to give her a makeover and teach her how to make her hair look 10 times thicker. Here's how. Okay, and before we dive in, I want to say a huge thank you to Factor for sponsoring this video. Now, we're going to go through a process that's going to help Teresa's hair look much, much thicker. But part of that process today, she actually said that she wanted to get color done. So I invited a friend. So first of all, before we even dive into the consultation, I want to introduce Danielle. Danielle is an absolute master. So I really wanted to make sure that this was done right. And I thought she'd be the perfect one to do that for you. So that's why she's here. She's gonna take really good care of you. This is not a system that only works with one particular length or style of hair. And it's something that you can use on your own hair at home. So understanding that it isn't based purely on length or style, we first need to understand exactly what it is that Teresa wants from her hair.
Well, I would love anything that just kind of makes me feel lifted, a little more youthful. I used to think that, oh, I needed long hair to do that. Yes and no, because it gets pretty stringy. Okay, I love that she understands this. Teresa just hit on something that is so important when it comes to making hair look thicker. Having longer hair doesn't inherently make your hair look like there's more hair. And I'm gonna explain in just a second exactly why that's true. And we're also at the same time gonna show you kind of how you can guide your eye to tell when your hair is at the right length so that it can look its thickest. I do realize that being thin and fine like it is, that when it's long like this, it sits pretty flat, and color does help that. But if I could just get some lift and somewhere up in here, and I realize that shorter hair is going to do that.
Okay, now Teresa's not wrong here, but layers can also be very dangerous. They can quickly go too short, or your hair can become over layered, which would leave you not only lacking the volume you're trying to create, but also making your hair even look thinner. What's your biggest concern with your hair right now? What's the biggest struggle you have?
There's like a double crown,
okay,
and it's extremely thin, and so that just, yeah, and I don't like it.
Don't worry, in just a sec, I'm gonna share a couple tips that'll help you deal with this as well. Talk to me about lengths. What length range would you be most comfortable in? Okay, getting close. What you're about to hear me say is hugely important. Do not miss this. And I'll tell you right out of the gate, there's not a length range that's going to be the best for you. It's what we do inside of that length range. Right. So if you feel like you would be more comfortable here, let's say, but you're like, but I want you to be able to do whatever's best for me, we can figure out whatever's best for you in that length range.
I would say here and up.
When you look in the mirror, what is your favorite part of your face? Like, what do you... Seriously, tell me that her eyes were not the first thing that you noticed too, right? You have beautiful eyes.
Thank you.
But part of the reason that you're struggling with some of the things you're struggling with, i.e. the lack of volume, you do have fine hair, as you know, and it is on the thinner side. But it isn't anything that we can't create a lot of shape in. Okay, now before I mentioned a process that we're gonna be using to make her hair look much thicker. This process consists of 3 specific steps. And the biggest concern is that most people only really deal with one of these steps. The 3 ways when you're talking about trying to create volume or thicker looking appearing density in your hair, you're talking about 3 different things. You're talking about the ends, the mid shaft, and the roots. Okay, 9 out of 10 times people deal with the mid shaft. They don't really talk about the ends so much. They talk about getting your hair fuller because that makes it look thicker.
Yeah.
Creating thicker, denser looking hair is making sure that the ends are brought to the length that they look densest, because that's going to be the length that's going to allow you to do the layering everywhere else to support the overall shape, right? And once we do more layering, we're lightening it up. Now we use product or whatever we use during the styling process. We've got the ends looking thicker. We have the mid shaft now looking thicker. And then we'll deal with your roots. 1, through the coloring, because color will help it actually look denser, and then through fibers, which will also make it look denser. Okay, I know that might not make complete sense yet, but trust me, stick with me. By the end of this video, you will see exactly what I mean. And I also know that I mentioned that we were going to be using color to help her hair look thicker. Because she wanted to do color, I knew that we'd be able to use this to our advantage. What I didn't know was what Danielle was about to say about the color.
The blonde is very distracting to your blue eyes. If I had my wish today, I would take you into a little darker.
Nope, wasn't surprised by that. Wait for it.
The other thing is, and you mentioned too, that the coolness makes this a little ruddier.
Yes.
And so that was my first impression when I met you too, is you need some gold in there.
Did you catch that? Danielle just told Teresa that we're going to be adding cool and warm tones to her hair. First of all, the warm tones are going to come by way of kind of a gold, which Teresa's already said.
I guess the number one thing I do not like is the gold.
And I've always told people that you shouldn't mix warm and cool tones. Now that makes me wonder, have I been wrong the entire time? So tell me this then, because I always tell people, like, if you've got cool skin tone or you stay in cool colors, that usually it's dangerous to marry the cool and the warm too much because they don't typically play together well.
Black and white is beautiful together.
Yeah.
And you can put, other colors that are very contrasty on the color wheel opposite each other. Opposite sides always neutralize. Does that make sense?
It makes total sense, and it's just making me feel like I've been so wrong for so long, because I've always told people that, but I could be fully off base. I'm excited and like anxious a little bit.
Totally. I'm adding blonde first because strategically I can put it where it needs to go, where she's seeing it. So this will give it a little bit more resemblance to what she's used to, so it's not so shocking.
Okay, did you catch that? Don't miss it. That's a great tip. If you're feeling like you're going to make a big change in color, let's say, for instance, in this situation, going much darker, leaving a little bit of that color that you had, in this situation, blonde, around the face is really going to help you kind of not feel like there's such a dramatic change. It leaves a little bit of that familiarity right around the area that you see the most. Now, if you're struggling with cowlicks, especially in the back of your head, like Teresa is, here's another little tip for you.
I cannot tell you how many times I went home after having my hair done and loving it and looking in the back. So what do? I get out the comb and I used to almost tease it a little bit there and hit it with hairspray.
So where it wants to split is usually where you'll see scalp. So I'm doing a little bit lighter bit here, but nothing harsh. I just want to confuse the eye.
One of the things we love to do with these makeovers is try to make the day as special as possible. Part of the way we decided to do that was to have lunch catered. This is actually provided by like one of our favorite restaurants. Is that good? I lied a little bit. This is from Factor. They send it to you in the mail.
Oh, wow.
No exaggeration. We put it in the microwave for 2 minutes.
This is going to be how I eat from now on.
It's amazing, right?
Yes.
So we used HelloFresh in the past too.
We did.
And we loved it. You did too? Yeah, it's great. We learned a bunch of like different cooking techniques from it. But sometimes I'm like, I'm a person that I don't have a lot of time. Then something like this allows us to be like, hey, throw it in there 2 minutes.
Then I can do the cooking.
You're an ex-personal trainer. Staying on track is like not a thing.
I have to be basically, this is what you're going to eat. This is what you're going to eat. Otherwise, I'm going to be like, what's quick and easy?
This is quick and easy.
It beats crackers and cheese.
Yeah.
Checks all the boxes.
Dude, it is so good.
Thank you, Factor. It's delicious.
Now I'm just stuffing my face. All right, now head over to factor75.com or click the link below and use the code Hickox50 to get 50% off your first Factor box and free wellness shots for life. 2 free wellness shots from 3 available flavors for every order while you're an active subscriber. Here's your hair. This is how long those layers are, right? So they are very long by comparison to the length as well. Yeah. Once I bring this length up, kind of in the length range we're talking about, like in here, not only am I taking this much length off, which would then allow me to take that much more length off the layers, but I get to take even more length off the layers and still get them to balance.
Yes.
So we could be quite aggressive with the amount of layers that we're taking. And it'll still look dense because we're not gonna add a bunch of layers at the bottom. That's typically where it goes wrong. It ends up actually getting really, really thin at the bottom. If you layer this hair down here, this is a perfect example of how you can still layer thin, fine hair. It's not like the death of thin, fine hair. And in fact, it can still actually make your hair look denser, even though you're taking some hair out. Okay, now earlier I mentioned that I was gonna share some tricks that you could use to ensure that you don't get layers that rob you of volume on top or to get too many layers and make your hair look thinner. Well, here you go. So this is axle bone right back here, okay? And then this, obviously the top of the head. So when I take hair from right here, this spot right here, and I pick that up, this is the actual length in the back. So this is what's creating my length. This is how I say that you can have thin, fine hair and you can still layer it because this hair down here is what creates the length. It'll still look strong. Where it goes wrong is if I pick all this stuff up and I layer this, right? All this stuff gets layered, all of this stuff stays that one length, doesn't get layered. If I pull this out and layer that, that's when you're gonna start seeing it really thin at the bottom. This is also a gauge of how short your hair can be, is you literally can take a section of hair from the top and you basically can pull this up, just a little piece like the size of your thumb, right? So you would take a section like this and then you would grab a little tiny section right in the back. So right at your occipital bone. I'm gonna pick that straight up and I'm gonna take this straight up. Now I wanna make sure that this hair, long as or longer than this hair, when they go straight up from your head. So this is a little bit of a guide to basically saying, well, if I take my top layers to here, right? Anything shorter than that is gonna be way too short for the length in the back. Then I can go into the stylist and say, I want layers, but I don't want them to be any shorter than right here on the top. That's the shortest. Okay, this is always the most stressful part. I mean, we really tried hard to make sure that we stayed within Teresa's comfort zones, but also at the same time gave her the change that she was seeking. And it seems like as much as we try, we can always do our best. But at the end of the day, you really never know how the client's gonna react. And now I'm just praying that she likes it. All right, are you ready? I love it.
Okay.
Take a look. You know it's really good. How do you really like it?
Oh my goodness. Speechless. It really does. It's speechless. Look, I just grew hair, everybody.
You did.
Grew hair by sitting in a chair.
That rhymes. Up top. Up top.
You're not the only poet.
I love the shape.
The view most definitely does not
gosh.
suck. I'm so shocked that it's me. I'm looking
Up top again. That view.
does not suck.
There you go.
Try not to cry.
That doesn't look thin to me at all.
No, it's stunning. You guys just work absolute magic. That's actually really cute. I like it.
You like it okay?
My goodness, yes.
I also want to say a huge thank you to Factor for sponsoring this video. Again, if you want to learn more about them, you can check out the description below. Definitely try them. They're kind of amazing.
And may I give a shout out to your lovely wife?
Yes.
Diana, who's behind the camera. Do you want to come over and say hi? Diana's in here too.
Yes.
So-
I would not. None of this would have been possible without the three of you. It takes all that.
Love you.
No.
Thank you for fixing things.
Please.